There are a lot of things in life that we have no control over. So being a control freak has got to be the most pointless and tiring way to live possible. And yet, we often still try. When you actually take some time to think about it, though, outside of my own responses and responsibilities, there is very little any of us can control. Weather, economy, gas prices, fashion trends, other people, the time in which you were born. Have you ever stopped to consider the era in which you were born into and the opportunities you have that someone who was born, say, in the 16th century didn't have? I'm super thankful for central heating and air conditioning and grateful I was not born at a time where that wasn't a thing. But what about when it comes to transformational moves of God? I'm talking about times in history where God is doing a supernatural work on a grand scale and lives are being changed for His glory. There are definitely times in history where God has done something where an entire nation may have been impacted, like St. Patrick in Ireland, or even the entire world, like Martin Luther and the Reformation, for example. It is in those times that God, in His sovereignty, orchestrates the world in such a way that He uses people to pioneer a movement while at the same time using systems to perpetuate the movement. If you study the history of missional movements, which I'm doing right now, you will see both people and systems aligning in such a way that God transforms people and societies and cultures together at the same time in an obvious and powerful display of the kingdom of God coming to earth. But what you will also see are pioneers that we would say were before their time, but remained faithful to the task God had given them. But is it really even possible to be before your time when it comes to being a pioneer? Without the person who's willing to go ahead and not just make a way, but break a way through, there are no movements to perpetuate transformation. Jeremiah, we could say, was before his time because nobody listened to anything he said. But I believe in this context, he was a prophetic pioneer. Jan Hus was a theologian who was martyred for saying the same exact things Martin Luther said. One was killed, the other was used to bring about the Reformation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a pioneer who had a message the majority of the people at that time did not want to hear, but today we quote and glowingly remember him. Let's not forget his message got him assassinated, but he was faithful to pioneer even when the system around him wasn't ready to perpetuate the message. At this point, you could be asking, well, what does this have to do with me? And I believe it comes down to being faithful as Christians to glorify God with the entirety of our lives. You could be a pioneer in something particular in some particular way and never see the fruitfulness of your labor, but you remain faithful and obedient to God. You could also be one who is reaping the harvest of someone else's pioneering work, but you have the task of perpetuating what God is doing by remaining faithful and obedient to God in a favorable time. The work could be in your community on a local level, or you could be a part of something transformational that reaches to a state, region, nation, or even a global level. Ecclesiastes 3:1 kind of states the obvious that we're talking about, but points to what I am speaking of. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. What we want to do is to remain faithful to love God and to love people in whatever season we find ourselves in by God's sovereignty. I want to encourage you today, whether you're pioneering or perpetuating something in the kingdom of God, you're not alone, and there is a God-glorifying purpose for your life when you're faithful and obedient to follow the calling He's given you.